Yes, sir. And we are back here on the light on 91.7 WLFR Pomona here on the campus of Stockton University. As I said before, we have as my guest host for the first hour someone who has been a friend of mine for a few years. I met her all the way back at Chelsea Junior High. Now I'm trying to remember if she was a basketball player or a cheerleader.
I was always the cheerleader.
Okay, she was a cheerleader. And I had not met her yet, but when they were passing out the sheets or the votes for junior high school superlatives, there was a heated debate going on. She's laughing because you know where I'm going with this. There was a heated debate about, I think it was a heated debate on the boys' side too, but definitely on the girls' side of who was getting best dressed. There was two camps. There was Brenda Braithwaite and Shalon Everhart. And I'm going to say this. I dress for success now. I try to. Brenda been dressing for success since I known her. And it was like, me being new to Chelsea, I was like, what's the big deal? And then I met Shalon. I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing there. And then I ran into Brenda. I was like, okay, I see what the debate is. Because I was never the sharpest dresser. Now, full disclosure, my father's country, and so his family moved from Delaware. He came to Atlantic City. My uncle went to Philly, and my aunts went to Trenton. Them Negroes can dress. So, you know, it was just never my thing until a certain point in my life. But yeah, so who won that debate? Who actually got best dressed that year?
Brenda Braithwaite.
Okay,
yes.
All right. You admit though, Shalon can put it on though.
Absolutely, and she has been one of my dearest friends since junior high school. So yes, I am so happy that I was in the same.
I need you to get a little bit closer to the microphone, or pull the mic. There you go.
So Brenda Braithwaite won that hands down. However, I was really happy to be included in the same camp as Shalon Everhart, who has been a dear friend of mine for decades.
Okay, and now this is gonna be hard for me. I want to say Antonio Harris won on the boys' side, but I think he was up against Donald Harris for best dress. Like that, I think that was the big. You know, with boys, it wasn't that big of a debate, yeah, but it was a heated debate going on in junior high school as to who was going to win best dressed that year for the ladies. And like I said, from that time to this, she's always been never a hair out of place. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brenda Braithwaite. Please introduce yourself to my people, please.
Sure. Good morning, listeners. My name is Brenda Braithwaite, and I am a 7th grade math teacher in the Atlantic City Public School System. I also serve as the first vice president of the Atlantic County Council of Education Associations, and we represent public school employees in Atlantic County. I am also the executive committee member of the New Jersey Education Association. We are the governance piece for the organization. And I serve as a board of director for the National Education Association, which means that at the federal level I do a lot of things, and the most important thing that I do there is to lobby on education issues.
All righty, well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. I really appreciate it. And so I don't want to spend too much time looking back because we're not going that way, but I do want to ask you one question because, like I said, honestly, it took me a while. I've been doing this show for the better part of 10 years. I look at pictures of myself from 7 years ago, and I was like, I was out here looking crazy. And it's not that I was looking crazy per se, that my attitude was the attitude of a lot of guys, and I'll say even some successful guys. Okay, I got a brown shirt, I got brown pants, and a brown pair of shoes. I'm dressed. See, she's laughing. It wasn't until I had a relationship with someone who's a professional dresser. Shout out to Stella, and she was like, "Bruh, you need to take more than 5 minutes to get dressed, to think about your wardrobe when you get up in the morning." I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay." So, but anyway, here's the question I want to ask you. You've been dressing for success, like I said, since junior high school. Can you talk to us a little bit about the importance of dressing for the job that you want, the job you plan to claim in the future? Whether it's junior high school or whether it's pre-retirement.
Absolutely. I think that the question of how you present yourself is something that we may not talk about all the time. And when we're with our friends or our family and you're talking about going shopping and what you're going to get, we may not necessarily connect it to a career, right? So as a seventh grade teacher, it's important for me, even though my students wear uniforms, that I present to them what it looks like to be a professional, because I am a professional, right? Held to a very high standard of conduct as well as other things.
Right.
And putting your best self forward into the world means that people are going to take you in or to perceive you or welcome you in the way that you present yourself. For instance, it can take you 5 minutes to get dressed. It can take you an hour to get dressed. It's your choice, right? So the way that you want the world to see you should really be embodied in who you are and what you want people to see first, right? I can walk out with wrinkled clothing on, maybe my iron broke that morning. I'm not sure, I don't know. There might be a reason for that. However, if I have the means and the ability to make sure that I am wrinkle free, I should always do that. Grooming is essential to everything. Employers have standards of dressing, of appearance, and we should have very high standards for ourselves when we're, and not only in the public domain as well as in the private domain.
Well, all right. I like that. Did people used to low key not harass you, but tease you about always being so fly?
No,
No?
being fly was a thing. I wanted people to join me.
There it is. All right, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Light, powered by AtlanticCityFocus.com, and we're here with Ms. Brenda Braithwaite. Out of all the professions that you could have chosen, why did you decide to go into education? I know it wasn't the money.
No, absolutely not the money. It was happenstance. It was because of a relationship that I had, and this relationship that I had, well, I was exposed to a lot of educators at the time, and I was in banking. So why not? I thought it would be great to have a similar schedule to my friends, right? Have summers off, have, at least perceive summers off. I have to tell you that now, because you don't have summers off. However, having a similar work schedule, being able to plan things, trips, vacations, other things to do together, more of a social experience, because having a degree, being a degree person, you can take really any path that you want to, in this world of careers. And having chosen the field of education, which was very new to me, I did not know all of the different paths in which you could travel in education. You're not just a classroom teacher, you're not just a custodian, you're not just a secretary. There's so many other things that you can do. And I think that as I became to learn and discover different pathways within the education realm, I saw that there was a place for me in policy and government, to help change the things that impact what happens in school buildings and classrooms.
Okay. All right. So is it safe to say that your goal wasn't just to be a teacher, but also to affect policy and administrative changes?
To affect policy, yes. One of the things I learned quickly, without fail, was that everything in education is legislated. Every single thing is legislated, from teacher certifications to what type of curriculum you can have, to professional learning standards for educators. Everything that happens or unfolds in a classroom or any school, local education association, is dictated by policy.
Okay. All right. So, I'm going to ask you to look back one more time and play a game with me.
Okay, let's go.
So, not very hard of a game. Usually, I would do this as a King of the Hill game where I mention two people and you tell me who is the better person. But I have to say, I am grateful for the teachers and the education I got through the Atlantic City public school system and various private schools that I went to as well. So I'm thankful to all of our educators. I want to mention some educators and some people from Atlantic City's past. And to be honest, I would mention more current educators, but I'm not sure how your relationship is. So I don't want you to give me I don't want to mention somebody and you give me the stink face.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm glad to have a really good relationship with a lot of people, not only in education, also in the political realm as well, because once again, they are very much connected, intertwined.
And when I talk to you about what you're doing now and what the future looks like, that'll be your opportunity to big up people who you may want to big up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mention a name, and I want you to tell me what your thoughts are. And these people are, most of them are educators, and some of them aren't really educators, but they gave me a lesson or two. First name I always start off with probably made the biggest impact in my life. I definitely wouldn't be here. No pressure. Nobody asked me. Forget that. Alice Cash.
Oh, wow.
What comes to mind?
Alice Cash taught me the importance of language, the importance of vocabulary, and how that is a segue to bigger and better things. I absolutely loved being in Mrs. Cash's classroom. I love the fact that even though I said this was my best work, she said it's better. And if it was a 93, I could have had 100. And if it was a 95, I could have had 100. So I was very, very grateful to her at that time and beyond for pouring into me, really. She noticed the potential in many of us, and as an African American educator, that was very, very important. And I say that because many of her students in her classes, they were African American. I only had Miss Cash for my first year at high school, and then she shipped me on to Mrs. Marandino. She said there's more that you need to do and expand, your knowledge base now. And so she made sure that I had AP classes, and it was with Mrs. Marandino. So that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never had Marandino. I've heard stories, and I'll be honest, I've heard stories on both sides. People who couldn't stand her and people who loved her. What was your take on Marandino, if you could say?
I enjoyed Mrs. Marandino's class. As fly as I was an absolute nerd. I love school. I love learning. Math was my jam, so the math and sciences came very easy. I didn't see the need for writing or literature at the time. I didn't understand the connection, right? And what it would mean to open up worlds and to, learn to write figuratively, to speak figuratively, how to expand, the way that you communicate and how to be more expressive, I should say. So I enjoyed that. That's pushing a student who's in high school beyond their bounds sometimes, right? Because you're not used to saying that there's still a higher level to go and there's more to learn, right? And there's a way that we can do it, whether we're writing book reports. I remember my first book report. I'm like, oh my goodness, what is this about, right? And when I do think back or take this moment, because you're really taking me down memory lane right now, and I look back, That prepped me for college in such a huge way. We used to use index cards. I know now, everything is technology based, so it's easy to type some things and create some flashcards or
Right.
on the computer. But we literally had to use index cards. We had to go to a library, to go to a card catalog to
Yes.
find these books, and that doesn't happen anymore, right?
Yes.
But I was taught a lot of my research skills when I had her when I was a sophomore at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yes, a lot of
All
research.
right.
They were, basic, but not a lot of linguistics was attached to it. Only because it was just a basic thing. How do you write a report? How do you cite something? Even though the citations weren't correct, but there is a format for things that other people say.
Footnotes.
Footnotes, yes, absolutely. And then how to build from an index card some ideas to a paragraph, and then 2 and 3. And next thing you know, you have a 5-paragraph, summary of something.
Okay, so I had Mrs. Cash, and one of the ways she was a pain, but I'm glad about it. She would tell you straight up, if you want to get a C or a D, do your book report off Cliff Notes.
Oh, goodness. Oh, my
So
goodness.
she let you know from the door, don't even try.
I have
Was
not heard.
Mirandino did she tell you don't even waste your money on Cliff Notes?
Don't even do it, no. And you know
Or if
what?
you watch the Cosby Show, what they say, Cleveland Notes.
Yes.
I fell on the floor when they said that. And the only reason they said Cleveland Notes because they knew some fool would be in the bookstore looking for Cleveland Notes.
and couldn't find it, right?
And you couldn't find
And
them.
the joke was on you.
Right.
Listen, and that goes to reading. Like, just think about that. Many times we don't know information and we're listening to it in like 30-second or 2-minute clips.
Right,
And most of
right.
it is audio, or
Right.
video. But very little things we go into a book to find. And one of the things that has been said about people who were enslaved is that if we put it in a book, they'll never know. Right? So
right.
reading is fundamental.
Right.
It's the very thing that can take you from where you are and expand your horizons, because you can teach yourself really anything. Yeah, you need, a subject matter expert to help guide you. You need a
Right.
guide.
Right.
But you can teach yourself anything by reading. I mean, we learn different languages.
Right.
Even in college, you're reading textbooks and you're looking to your professor to help you, sort of integrate the understanding into the knowledge that you already have and to give it back to the world in a way that's understandable.
Right. Well, I want to thank Mrs. Cash for making me drudge through the Great Gatsby, and see, here's the thing about reading at a certain level. I could walk out this door. You met the station manager, Chad. He probably had to read The Great Gatsby too. My brother read The Great Gatsby. My niece, the last road trip we took in the car, I'm 57, she's 17. That's 40 years of difference. You know how we bonded? Talking about The Great Gatsby and what a stupid book that was.
Oh, that's fine.
Not a stupid book, how stupid Gatsby was and everything like that. But what I'm saying is, books can put different people from different walks of life in the same area in a way that very few things can. So, okay, so I want to move on. Did you know Mr. Oscar O.C. Edwards?
Oh, absolutely. Mr. Edwards from Chelsea Junior High School. Absolutely. He was one of my my most favorite teachers, I have to say this, though. I grew up in Atlantic City. All of my teachers were teachers of color. They were black teachers, except for maybe 2, until
Okay.
we went to Chelsea Junior High School.
Right.
And that was the first time I had seen so many other educators in a building who were white, right?
Right.
And I can just name all the teachers who have poured into me over the years. And one thing that does stay with you is that when you find someone who takes the time, who's talking to you, who's explaining things in a way that makes sense to you so that you can learn, you have those memories of those moments, right? And it stays with you. Mr. O.C. Edwards was my social studies teacher when we were at Chelsea Junior High School. So Chelsea Junior High School is now Texas Avenue, if you did not know. And 7th and 8th grade were housed there. So every other year, the grade level will go from Central Junior High School to Chelsea Junior High School. So I was at Chelsea for 2 years. And Mr. Edwards definitely, even though in my household we were taught Black history, African American history, we were taught that through music and we were taught that through religion, through the Bible, right? Mr. Edwards just gave us the connection to our present, like what these events matter for you today, and
Yes.
how are you going to not allow this to happen, or how are you going to move past this, or how are you going to take and change this so that it's better. That was his focus. How do we make things better, even though things did exist? You know, we used to talk about, especially here in the United States, the civil rights movement, right? That was a big part of what Mr. Edwards wanted us to know, to understand, you know, how Atlantic City was formed, like where did we all come from? Many of us had immigrated there from the islands, right? Our families had anyway.
Right.
And what was our connection to the Atlantic City that we know, and how can we change the city or make the city benefit us? Like, what can you do? And that's when I started to learn about student voice. I didn't know what it was. Today we call it student agency. It's a little bit different because we have we have more tools to give to our students today than we've ever had before. But he was the first teacher that talked about youth being able to change things.
Right. I want to shout out my teachers again. It's not about me, but I want to co-sign something that you said. Being in junior high school and Atlantic City High School, I was impressed with, I'll use the word you said, agency that our teachers gave us. And I don't mean just being responsible for reading, writing, and arithmetic, or being responsible for your homework. You know, I don't think I had a teacher in high school or junior high school where the dog ate my homework was going to fly.
Not at all.
Every teacher I had in junior high school and high school put agency on me to be responsible, not just as a student, but as a member of my community. And again, you know, like you said, interacting with Mr. Edwards, it wasn't just about learning dates. It's about what those dates mean to your family, to us collectively, and then when you walk, what people from the educators at Chelsea and Atlantic City High School did. They put it on us that when you walked out those doors, you represented them. And us, and they wanted to be proud of you when you walked out those doors. So that being the case, next name I want to bring up is Mr. Herbert Milan.
Oh yes, Mr. Milan. I have the fortunate favor to see his wife from time to time because we are in.
Wait. How Herb still look like he's still teaching? He's still vice principal at Chelsea.
I have no idea. How do you stay ageless? Like he has not at all, and neither has Mrs. Milan. You know, which is wonderful. But I get a chance to see her because she is part of a teacher sorority that I'm a part of, right?
Okay.
And so when I see her, I always ask about him. You know, he was just an amazing administrator. He cared. He showed that he cared. He showed up. He did not let us have anything less than excellence. He did not allow us to back down from that. He set the bar high, and we had to meet or exceed his expectations, and that was it. And the beautiful part about it was that he set us up to know that we could if we tried.
Indeed. I have a funny Mr. Milan story, but I don't have time for it because I'm trying to get through all of this. What about Mr. Rosino?
Oh, Mr. Rosino was the vice principal at Chelsea Junior High as well. And I think my memories with Mr. Rosino were probably none because I was a great student, so he was in charge of discipline, and I never saw Mr. Rosino. Okay. But I would say, I knew who he was. I knew he was in the hallway. He would say, I mean, he was cordial, good morning, good afternoon, but I never really had any other interactions with him.
Cool. All the reactions I had with him were positive because he would always show up. Like if I won something, that's when I saw him.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Did you know Joanne Lassane?
Mrs. Lassane, you talk about the best in Black excellence from Atlantic City. Mrs. Lassane was one of those people, grace, sophistication, charm, beauty, internally as well as externally. And to be one of the first African American black print ad models, that was a big deal. And Mrs. Lassane used to do etiquette classes a long time ago. I'm not sure if you remember when she did them. However, she would do them for young men and for young ladies. And
Okay.
I just remember just her, even her walk was just like she was flowing like a gazelle. She was just beautiful. And in her softly spoken way, she let us all know that appearance and the way you present yourself is extremely important, because you don't get a do-over. You don't get that mulligan. People are going to judge you on what they see. It's like having that, first interaction. You can go, well, that's great, but if it doesn't, most people are not going to give you a second chance.
Did you know Sandra Ushery Hollingsworth?
Absolutely. You talk about fierce and bold and absolutely unapologetically black and strong. And I don't know who you don't know, but I know everybody. And she would weld her positions, and she would weld her connections to do good in our community. A lot of people may have seen the surface things that she was involved in, because she was a model as well. She was also, I think, along with Mrs. Lassane, one of our first black socialites in Atlantic City, right? She did a lot of social gatherings, community organizing for charities and different fundraisers and things. So I absolutely just admired her strength, because she was a tiny little woman. I don't know, if you remember what she looked like, but she was a tiny little powerhouse. You saw this petite woman coming through a door, walking into a room, and it only took her 2 seconds to let everybody know that she was in that room.
I never saw her as a tiny woman, but I remember, like you said, when she walked into a room, she encompassed the whole room.
Yes, she
like
did.
few people. The only other person I met who could do that was Sonia Sanchez. She is amazing with the way she handles the room, and so was Sandra Ushery Hollingsworth.
She could command that attention just by, once again, her appearance. She was bubbly, she was charismatic. She definitely was a person who enjoyed talking to people, meeting people. And she definitely set a bar for how you interact and what you do.
Okay. Did you know George Dennis from the Atlantic City High School?
Mr. Dennis.
Mr. Dennis.
Oh, of course, we all did. Mr. Dennis was always, to me, like a quiet soul. I didn't have any interactions with him, once again, other than, he was a quiet soul. He was always smiling, but he was not always smiling. He always had this stern look on his face, and his glasses would fall down on his nose about right there, and he would just look over his glasses, look up and down the hallway, and, point, hey, come here, So all of my interactions were positive and limited.
So I guess because of the fact that you were a young woman, you could wear a hat in school, but man, he used to be on in that hallway. You see them hats right on the top of your head. You come get it back after school.
And you know what? It's amazing that you say that, because now I don't see men or young men. I don't see any men really in general, not unless they're of a certain age. And
Right.
I don't mean, maybe they are worldly experienced, I should say.
Right.
Do not remove hats indoors. And that was something, we grew up with in my household and in my neighborhood. That was something that was an expectation. It was unwritten. It was unspoken. You just knew if you entered so-and-so's home, you take off your hat at the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you know Patty Harris?
Absolutely. We were my sister and I, Nina Garrett, we were part of Patty Harris's dance school for a very long time. We used to have our recitals at the Atlantic City High School, the old Atlantic City High School, and it was a big production. There were probably most of the young ladies in Atlantic City attended Patty Harris Dance School. There was also another one, but she had the majority of, the young ladies and men, because we had some young men who were part of the dance troupe too.
Right. Well, I thank you for playing this game with me. All of the people who I mentioned made a big impact on my life and the reason why I'm sitting here. And thank God many of them, even though some of them have passed on, I've had an opportunity to say thank you. I never really got a chance to thank Mr. Dennis the way I wanted to, but many of the other ones I have, and it's been so humbling. And so, whenever I worked with Patty Harris, it was always a learning experience. And to young people who may be listening to the show, or if you're an older person with a young person, admonish them to spend time learning from the people, from the Brenda Braithwaites, who they have access and availability to now, because it's not always going to be that way. There's no amount of money I wouldn't pay to be able to pick up the phone or go by Mrs. Cash's home and just, talk to her about anything. What's that they say? They say when an elder dies, a library burns up, or something like that.
Yes.
So it is very true. Take advantage of the Brenda Braithwaites and within your atmosphere right now. So let's move on. And we only got, gosh, you sure you can only give me till 12? You got to go back?
I'll give you more time.
Okay, so I'll put my mix show on hold a little bit, because ideally when I invited you here, we were going to play records and kibitz, that's Yiddish, back and forth. But I think we're really into some decent conversation. You're listening to The Light, powered by AtlanticCityFocus.com. We're getting the video on this, so if you want to see it again, by this time next week, it'll be available at AtlanticCityFocus.com. So I want to say this. I'm super proud of all the educators I had, from kindergarten, Mrs. Barbara, to high school and college. But focusing on Atlantic City High School had some amazing educators. Even my gym teachers taught me stuff. Even classes I didn't pass, I still have life lessons that I take with me forever. With that being said now, Atlantic City has a murderer's row of female educators that are amazing. Let me tell you something. You got Brenda Braithwaite, you got Dr. Ananda Davis Wright, you got the superintendent of schools, Dr. Smalls, Kathleen Gordy is an educator, my man Reuben White is an educator.
He just retired.
Well, he was an educator.
Yes.
I'm trying now. Why can't I remember all the rock stars? But there are a few. Like, Atlantic City is rich with great black educators, and more young black educators are coming in almost every year. And we ain't even talking about Pleasantville, where my girl Danielle teaches. So talk to me about your wonderful colleagues, if you would.
Oh, wow. Whew. Let me tell you, one of the things that Atlantic City has had